My name is Mark Friedman. I am from the International Association of Machinists Union out in California that has been active in spearheading a campaign among unions nationally to end the U.S. blockade of Cuba and to demand that Cuba be removed from Washington's so-called list of terrorist nations. I am also here for the Los Angeles Hands Off Cuba Committee that is involved, and the Machinists Union is part of this committee, to organize labor against the blockade. And we organize labor and youth delegations to Cuba every year, and we invite you to join us.
And how long have you been a part of the organization and doing this type of work?
I'm a couple of years older than you, so I've been around a little while. As a high school science teacher, I have taken students there, science teachers. We have a relationship with the Cuban Aquarium for about 9 years. And now I take labor organizations.
Were you also a machinist as well as a science teacher, or did you just get into helping the machinist organization?
So first I was a machinist for years, and then I decided I wanted to go back to school and teach science and evolution, which is a struggle to teach in some places in California and LA, not in Canada though, I'm sure. And then to help organize to get the truth out about Cuba. There is nothing in U.S. media that tells the truth about Cuba. But the majority of Cuban Americans, as well as the majority of people in the U.S., and definitely Cuba, are opposed to the blockade, right?
Yeah. And can I ask you, what got you interested? What sparked, your solidarity with the Cuban people?
I consider myself a militant trade unionist, a socialist. I will never vote for Democrats and Republicans. I have Malcolm X's position on that, right? Cuba has been the victim of U.S. aggression for 60 years. Ever since the State Department Mallory Declaration in 1961 that said, do everything to destroy Cuba possible, including over 630 attempts to assassinate Fidel. I believe that Cuba has a right to determine its own future. If they want a socialist society, that's their business. The U.S. should be out of Guantanamo. And I am doing everything I can. In California, we just passed statewide the labor movement, the AFL-CIO, that represents 2.3 million workers, just passed a resolution demanding that Biden, through executive order, remove Cuba from the list of terrorist nations. Cuba is internationalist. They have 32,000 doctors and nurses around the world. There are 200 Palestinian students studying medicine right now in Cuba for free, right? They're totally international.
How does your organization and its direction for Cuba, go into so many things you say about Cuba is, that and worse is now being disposed upon the Palestinians. Yeah. But if you could speak about solidarity and what it means to you, and especially organizational solidarity.
Right. Trade unions in the United States are beginning to radicalize. Our last delegation to Cuba, we brought the entire leadership of the Amazon Labor Union. We brought machinists, longshoremen, teachers, others. What is changing in the U.S. labor movement, dear to my heart, I have been waiting for 40 years. It is a new wave of young people who are organizing, who are breaking through the union bureaucracy of the AFL-CIO, forming new unions, challenging the old official white male racist sexist leaderships that were bought into U.S. foreign policy for decades. Challenging that. And that is the bright future. And it is those people that can be easily won to ending the blockade of Cuba. And that's what's so important. Palestine. Cuba's been the most supporter of the Palestinian people since 1960. While every other Arab nation has tried to use the Palestinian issue as a tool for their own reactionary gains, right? Whether it be reactionary leaderships tied to the U.S. or not, their support for the Palestinians has been phony, phony. The Cubans, however, have been steadfastly solid. And believe me, if the U.S. wasn't so deeply involved, there would be Cuban troops in Gaza right now defending the Palestinians from the Israeli invasion.
Which Cuba does have a history of
Angola,
sending troops to help fight against apartheid and other...
Whenever they can.
Yes.
If they can't send troops, they send doctors, they send teachers. But that, like you said correctly, is the internationalism of Cuba, which is beyond any other country. They don't ask for anything back. As Fidel said, we share what we have, not what we have left. And it has that been since Vietnam. People voluntarily in Cuba gave up milk so it could be put in powdered form and sent to Vietnam. After the Vietnamese won, they came and they built tunnels under Havana to defend Havana from U.S. bombing, right? Cuba has been in solidarity with every liberation movement around the world. The reason they are on the, quote, terrorist list is because they were asked by the Colombian government to host a neutral negotiation site between FARC, which was the guerrilla group, and the Colombian government. Cuba said, of course. U.S. said, oh, you're terrorists. We're now putting you on the list. What that list means is far worse than the blockade. For example, if you are a European, you want to go to Havana, right? And thousands of Europeans go there for vacation. If you go to Havana or Cuba and then you want to go to the U.S., you must have an interview with Homeland Security. How many people are going to go now, right? They have cut off euros. The U.S. government has fined banks in Europe $3 billion for giving a loan to Cuba. So they have cut off euros.
It's a free market, right?
Yeah. Right. They have cut off euros the way they have cut off dollars. And Biden has done nothing since Trump lost. Nothing. It is the same exact position as it was under Trump.
And do you see, there's words that are spoken as to there might be a chance at a change under a Kamala Harris administration. We'll say there has been, some shifts on the labor side during the Biden administration. Do you see, any type of large, major beneficial shift coming out of future Kamala Harris, or I guess Trump's still also got a chance, but as far as like going into the next election and beyond?
I place no faith in the Democratic or Republican parties to change their position on Cuba without a massive opposition to the current U.S. position. More than 120 Congress people have signed a letter to Biden said, take Cuba off the list. More than 60 million people in the U.S. represented by unions, city councils, labor councils, organizations have demanded that Cuba be removed from the list. But the Democrats and Republicans won't listen because they want to destroy a socialist country. They want to destroy Cuba the way they tried to destroy Vietnam, right? That they want Cuba back as their playground to make Cuba like Haiti or like the colony of Puerto Rico. But Cuba is sovereign and they are resistant. And even though they have lived through this blockade, I have confidence in them and I have confidence in the people here to help end the blockade. I have Malcolm X's position. I will never support a Democrat or Republican because both of them have sold us out. And a Democrat is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's my position.
Well, I thank you for being one of those young people in the labor movement, changing it. But thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.